Welcome to Biggus Geekus. We are your hosts. I'm Randy.
And I'm Joe. We did that right this time.
Look at that, baby. This is episode 73 of our podcast, and the date is February 1st, 2022.
2022. Welcome, chat room.
Yeah. So we got Shadzar. Darth is in the house. Powder Puff Nerd. Tim Scott. We're rolling. Sweet. Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Shadzar said something about his TV being out. Is it your whole TV or just the one channel for YouTube?
Yeah. Is it a smart TV and the app's not working, or I can?
Well, my smart TV became dumb, and I got a Roku. So,
okay, cool.
Good thing.
Hey,
hello,
T-shirt historian. What's up, man?
All right, we've had some Twitter exchanges.
Very cool.
Of a non-violent nature. Isn't that interesting?
On Twitter? Is that possible? Apparently it is.
One must show great restraint.
Yes. How's this week been then, Joseph? How's it been?
All right. Cold.
Yep.
But not today, though. Today was pretty mild.
Yeah.
It even started raining at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But and we're supposed to get a bit of a snow shower tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Part of the nor'easter that hit the eastern seaboard, as they call it.
Right. Baron G-Rock in the house. He said he noticed your haircut.
No, I took a shower.
Oh,
it's all wet.
Finally.
Gosh, it's the wet look. It's in.
Shower. It's about time, Joe.
Yeah, it's about time. You know, my once a century shower.
Yeah.
Yeah. The wet look is in, I'm told.
Yeah. So, did you get any kind of gaming stuff in? We haven't got to game for a while. We're probably going to.
Yeah. Hopefully, we get to game soon. No, I haven't gamed. I pulled out my Champions book.
Oh.
Because I wanted to look at it. It's one of the older versions. It's one of the. I don't know if it's first edition, but the older books, I don't think it's first edition, but it's one of the earlier ones. And it's fourth edition. But it's my first edition for Champions, and I really like playing it.
Did you?
Yeah.
You should run that at CaptainCon.
Well, I want to get the Hero System book, which includes this stuff, but they also have fantasy. It used to be all divided up. The Heroes, the Champions book. Yeah. Fantasy Hero was a separate book.
Yep.
And whatnot. I'm not sure precisely what all of their line was, but they consolidated it to some degree into one thing. They have a 5th edition revised, which has been recommended. So I'm going to see if I can get it and it not cost too much. It's a giant tome.
Yes, it is. It's super thick.
Yeah.
Oh, Kelly, Tim's wife says hello. Hello, Kelly.
Hello, Kelly.
And Indigo is in the chat with us today. Good to see Indigo Dragon. This week I have not been gaming, but I have been working on my game rooms. In fact, I'm moving my mother and sister-in-law into my game rooms. That sounds really. They're twin rooms that I use for one for prep and one for podcasting. And anyway, but I'm in the official game room now. This is why I have more light, as you can see.
Yes.
But soon
we can actually see you, which is probably not great.
Yeah, but soon I got it all packed away. So soon I will be moving into the family room, and it will become the massive gaming room. So pretty pumped.
Right. So what room are you in right now?
Well, right now I'm in no rooms. I have put all my gaming stuff away.
No. You right now physically.
I am in the game room where we actually roll dice. I'm on the table.
Oh, you're sitting on the table?
Yeah, it's crazy. No, my computer's on the table. We're in the room. You know, there's the door to the outside behind me. So, yeah. But
it looks like you got something sitting in front of it.
Yes, it's a freestanding like little clothes rack.
Oh, gotcha.
Jenny for my sister-in-law when she moves in. So, yeah, we're making space for them, and Mom's going to be in the other room. So, yeah, spreading people out. So it'll be nice.
All right.
Okay. So any call-ins or emails? Should we start with that?
Let me see. I forgot to even look.
Joseph.
It's okay. It's quick. It'll be
I
fast.
only asked
Be
Joe.
fast.
I only asked Joe to do 5,000 things, and he forgets one. I can't believe it.
Let's see. I probably don't remember. No, we got no messages. No love this week.
Nope. No emails or nothing, huh?
So instead of messages, I'm going to briefly talk about something that's happening with our northern neighbor.
Oh.
Not talk too much about it, but just say hooray for those truckers out there who are driving or mostly have arrived in Ottawa to peacefully discuss their mandates.
Oh, really?
You didn't hear about the?
No, I heard somebody post something about truckers, and I didn't get it, so I'm out of the loop.
And it's not really, I don't know right now. At first it wasn't very well, it's newsworthy, but nobody played it because why would they play it?
No.
But I think it's great. I've been hoping that somebody over there started something, just so that we could know that they had some spirit left.
Right.
And apparently they do, which is awesome.
These Canadian truckers or
Canadian, some American, and I saw on Twitter someone said the alt-right truckers, and I'm like, whatever. Of course they're alt-right because they don't conform.
Right.
Blah 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 blah.
All right.
Anyway, I just wanted to lend some moral support through our podcast. Hopefully, it doesn't piss anybody off that I'm talking about the truckers, but they're doing good work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and thank you, Indigo Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Me and the wife just watched that video from JP about Ottawa. I'm going to post a link in the show notes. It's awesome. It's a really good video.
He's awesome. If you don't watch him, watch him.
Yes. So, JP Sears.
Hey, we got a new person here, Edge of Time, and him and the historian are in. So that's cool. Nice to have.
Yeah, that username looks familiar. I may have seen him out in Twitter land or some such. So,
cool.
Welcome to the chat.
Yeah. All right. You want to slide into our first little link we want to talk about?
Yes, we can slide in there.
I liked it. It was it's actually by it's a sports page called Outlook, Outlook.com. I'm trying to remember the guy who does that. I listened to him for a while. He's from Tennessee. And it's about how the bisexual Superman comic book's not selling. How shocking is that?
That's not Superman. I don't care what they say.
The bisexual
is not Superman.
Jonathan.
It's a fraud. It's a fraud.
Right. Yeah. Clay Travis. That came to Clay Travis does sports stuff, and he.
I recognize the name.
Outkick the coverage and his Outlook as not Outlook, Outkick, and he had someone in his group had a little comment on it, how the sales were tanking, and I saw somebody on some show went through the top 100 comic books, and Batman was the only one for DC that was even breaking like the top 50 or top 40, and there are a few others, but basically the Batman family is the only one that's doing any kind of selling. And so yeah, I think it's that kind of sale seems to be a matter of time before it's over for DC.
Well, but they're ignoring all that. DC
sure.
Comic sales have been in the tank for a while. I think most of the top spots belong to manga of some sort or another, and even a lot of them beating out Batman.
Sure. Well, this was just comparing Marvel and DC. They didn't have manga in this at all. So,
why would they?
Yeah, they don't want to see those numbers.
Yeah, it's like when they left Ron Paul out of the discussion back in 08 or 012 and 2012. They just said, "Yeah, we won't pay attention to number 3. Won't talk about him at all. Just these other people." But yeah, it's interesting.
It is what we thought it was. So yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Dark Souls RPG? Silent Josh.
It's hilarious.
Because is it okay? Now tell me, are you thinking, why are they using 5e rules in a game that's supposed to be super deadly?
Super deadly, super hard.
Right.
Okay, so you could use the 5th edition engine minus everything that makes it easy for the character to survive, for the characters to survive and all that other stuff. But why?
Why would you even choose it?
There's only one reason. What it was easy money for Wizards, because obviously they licensed it out. Either that, or they're just counting on just being good press, advertising, all that stuff.
Yeah. A popped up T-shirt historian. He says that Biggus Geekus actually there's a backlash of fatigue against DC and the Batman. There's like 12 Batman titles and people are sick of it. Of course they are. They did that with the X-Men. I mean,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing. And I think DC is just hanging its hat on Batman because the Bat's, he's super cool in general. But then they're going to kill him. So whatever.
And they're going to cancel 12 titles.
Yes, Indigo Dragon. Dark Souls is using 5e. Yep.
Yeah, they should call it Dork Souls.
Yeah, they should. Dork Souls.
Dork Souls.
Or just slightly shady souls, because no one's really dying.
No. Slightly inconvenienced souls.
Right, just slightly.
Yeah. It's. I just think it's hilarious, but it's understandable considering the hobby right now.
Right.
5th edition's big. Don't really know how big, to be honest. But
I think it's pretty much a behemoth still. I think 5e.
I mean, it has a lot of, at the very least, it has a lot of mind share, if not market share. But I'm sure it has both.
Yeah.
So it was probably an easy sell to Dark Souls. I'm sure the folks over at Dark Souls, some of them may know 5th edition is a cakewalk, but I can't imagine them not altering the rules. So I don't think it's going to be plain vanilla 5th edition with all the rest and rest some more and get all your eat a sandwich and get all your hit points back. I don't think it's going to be that.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to not allow all the resting and stuff. Or just it's going
to be bare bones. It's going to be more a better description of what it's probably going to be is D20.
Yeah,
but they'll be able to put the 5th edition moniker on it because why not?
Yeah, I've never played the video game, which I think that started everything. But I did play a board game one time of Dark Souls, and it lived to its name. It was we got killed constantly.
Who's that YouTube channel? They have a whole thing on Dark Souls where they kind of poke fun at it. I always forget the name of that. They're all it's a comedy thing.
Yeah.
And they have the thing on D&D and video games and Dark Souls in particular. Yeah. And I can't remember it now. But anyway, it's hilarious. The guy takes 2 steps and dies. and has to retry this one section 5 times before he can even, just do a simple thing. So I don't know how accurate that is in the game, but apparently there are none of the typical prompts and things you get in a video game, like a training area where you can figure out what the controls are. You don't even have that. You just start out and figure things out on your own.
Here's something from historian again. It says in Dark Souls, resting is a primary part of it. You rest at pre-located bonfires, but when you do, you reset the entire dungeon, so all the monsters come back at full strength. Well, maybe that's what they'll do. They'll say if you take a long rest, all the monsters respawn. That doesn't sound much like a role-playing game.
No. They'll have to rejigger that some kind of way.
Yeah.
They'll probably say, you can do that, but like in 13th Age, which we're going to talk about tonight, finish it up. Well, actually finish it up.
Finale part 2. Yeah.
Yeah. We will. You'll take a campaign loss in that if you flee or whatever. So.
Hey, Martinson, did he find the website?
Viva La Dirt League.
Viva La Dirt League.
I think that League is part of that, but yes. Yeah, thank you, Martinson.
They are awesome, actually. They're so funny. Oh, okay. So did you get a chance to look at that article from? It's not one of my favorite places. CBR.com. 10 tabletop RPGs that changed the hobby.
Yeah, I think I had taken a peek at that already.
Well, yeah, and of course that's an opinion. I do like the fact that they have D&D as the 800-pound gorilla in the room or whatever.
Right.
I guess travel. And actually, as I looked at it, I'm not against a lot of their statements. They even put Fate in there, and I'm not a fan of Fate, but I do think it did it's an example of a type of narrative game that I don't enjoy, but I think it did bring something to the hobby that's very different. That's fair, that or Dungeon World or whatever. Some of the other games I just didn't know. It's interesting they pointed Pathfinder. I guess they wanted to give them credit for picking up the baton when WotC dropped the ball with 4E. But some of the other games I just didn't know about. I've heard Apocalypse World. Why did they put the virtual tabletop Foundry and Fantasy Grounds? I guess because it's not necessarily a role playing game. There you go. You're sharing it.
Yeah, I'm sharing it. The problem is with I'm not sure how CBR works, but in the newspaper business, when a person writes an article, somebody else ends up making the headline for it. So I don't know if CBR does that, but the headline doesn't really. I mean, there's 10 things they discuss, but they're not things that change the hobby forever. I don't believe that.
Yeah, not forever, but I think you could say some of them are seminal role. I would agree they're seminal role playing games, and that they brought something. At least several of them brought something new to the table. I don't know much about that first one.
Let's go to it. Little Wars
was an early example of a war game.
Yeah, it's not really an RPG, so I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know what the point is, but
I'm not sure. It's possible that this game, Little Wars, was something that Gary Gygax played,
possible,
or knew about, and it was something, or it was something, a known quantity within the wargaming community at the time, just before Gygax made D&D. But so maybe they're saying that it's foundational in that way, but they don't say that. So
no, they don't seem like they deep dive. I mean, they didn't go they barely shallow dived on some of this. They just made comments.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny. In the article, if you go down to number 9, D&D, they talk about it's impossible to talk about that, but they make a comment that's kind of backhanded. They say writers like Gygax and Arneson are credited with inventing, in quotations,
yeah,
D&D in the mid-70s, but their work was very much aggregate of a thriving hobby, moving from tactics to storytelling. Yeah, but they invented D&D.
Yeah, they did, and
they invented D&D.
I won't know Avid. There was a couple of, it was fringe. I wouldn't call it Avid.
Yeah, there's the Brownstein game, which was by, I forgot the guy's name, but yeah, so I'm not sure.
They're taking pot shots because one, they're dead, and two, they don't like them because they're they're not part of their crowd. So right.
But Apocalypse World, well, I don't want to skip all these, but I already mentioned them. You got Traveler.
One other point here.
Sure.
Their work was very much an aggregate of a thriving hobby. It kind of makes it sound like they just used other people's work.
Correct.
When they didn't. I think a lot of that was parallel innovation.
Yes.
There were 2 or 3, 4, maybe half a dozen different groups were all working on something at roughly the same time.
Right.
No, they didn't. Oh, I can't say that for sure, but I don't. From what I know, from what I've heard,
or read, that's not the case.
No,
that's wrong.
Independent
influences, but I think without doubt that you have to give them the credit for being the fathers of the hobby.
Yeah.
And then Traveler was the first sci-fi non-fantasy game. That I didn't realize how early that came up, but that's accurate in 70.
It's pretty new, but I don't know how much of a force in the hobby that it was innovative in any kind of way. The one thing it had was the not lifestyle, but
their how they generated characters.
Yeah.
The life paths.
Life path. Yeah, life path.
Yeah.
So they may have been the first ones to do that. So that would be something that's part of the hobby. But change the hobby forever? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But
right. But it is an interesting early entry in the hobby that's still around. It's changed hand a few times, and a lot of people like it.
Very different from D&D.
Yeah.
Fate had we talked a little bit about how they use aspects and you describe your character in phrases, not so much in stats. Right. And there's some stats, but Fate was unique. I have no use for Fate, but others might like it.
Yeah, and look how they jumped all the way to the 2000s from the 1970s.
Yeah.
As if nothing in between there really mattered.
Hammer World wasn't anything. Warhammer was nothing. Gosh, what else was that? There's so many other things. Starfront. Rollmaster. Yeah, dude. You just completely Marvel superheroes. To me, that's one of the better ones in that era. So
they only had so many they could post, and they probably it is. So anybody here who wants another podcast to listen to, although don't switch it out for mine. It's not a gaming podcast.
Yeah.
It's called No Agenda. Yeah. And one of the fellas in it, John C. Dvorak, he was in the newspaper business and journalism business. He's been in a lot of different industries. And from his experience, he says when journalists do this top 10 thing, it's just 2, 3, 4, or 5 people in the office is bouncing it off of each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's okay because I do think top 10 is mostly your opinion anyway. I mean, that's
it's all opinionated.
I just don't think it's very well thought of overall. It's not perfect. Now, the Pathfinder one is kind of weird. They're kind of just, to me, they're giving Pathfinder a nod just because they split the fan base. I don't know if that changed the hobby forever. I mean, if it changed the hobby forever, then I would expect that, if I see another game come in that splits the fan base, then okay. But I mean, that's a tough one to imagine, the D&D fan base in particular, or Vampire, the Masquerade. Yeah, there's one. I forgot about that. They skipped Vampire. That had a significant. I think people are saying that in the chat. VTM. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
World of Darkness. It was a big thing. So I don't really. Yeah, these guys suck. This is.
They're forgetting so many.
Okay. What is the name of this crew again? CBR.
Yeah.
Do you know what that stands for?
Canadian
comic book.
I don't know.
Anyway, CBR.com. You blow.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're ranking them because they have number 1, Avatar Legends, shook things up. I don't think they're ranking them. And then they have a diceless one, Dream Askew. I've never heard of that. Blades in the Dark, I've heard of, and I guess they're giving virtual tabletops a nod because it did change the hobby a bit. That's
right. So Pathfinder deserves a mention, I would think.
Oh,
whether you like it or not. Apocalypse World, probably, because it started a whole thing.
Yep. Comic book resources, Shadzar says.
Okay. Well, thank you. They suck. Apocalypse World was the beginning of a big powered by the apocalypse movement, which is pretty big.
Yep.
Which makes sense.
Dude, I heard one of their creators, on a side note, this week I was listening to a podcast. Forgot what it was. I don't even want to give him any pub anyway. And then one of the creators of Apocalypse World, and he was of Dungeon World, maybe, whatever. He was just he was apologizing. He started apologizing for, like, when we do the second edition of Dungeon World, we'll be sure to be more inclusive, and we should. And it was funny; they were fumbling over themselves to, like, give reasons why they should apologize.
Right, because they didn't want someone to come and cancel them.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So what a I was like, you guys are so weak. That is weak sauce.
Yeah. They need to do a package check.
Ain't that the truth?
But virtual tabletops,
I guess that's fair.
It says tabletop RPGs, and then a virtual tabletop is not a tabletop.
That's my point.
A virtual tabletop. But it's not a game unto itself. It's a way to employ a game virtually. So, I mean, I would say if they're going to have that in this article, it would be kind of an honorable mention kind of thing.
And I don't know if it's not really an RPG, but it is a piece of technology that has changed. I agree that it's changed their hobby forever. That and the pandemic. It's been around for a long time, but the pandemic actually helped it become more.
Sure. If it wasn't for the fact that everybody got forced to stay home from their jobs, which hopefully not too many people lost, but we know some did. This is what they were left with. And there are a lot of people who have almost or no gaming options in their hometown, so they don't have a whole lot of options, and they use this because it's the only game they get.
Sure.
which is fine. Which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you like it, do it. I just
But oh yeah, I'm being clandestinely pointed to a comment to discuss, and we have, I believe.
Okay.
Up top, I believe it was Indigo Dragon or someone was asking if it was really true about 5th edition and Dark Souls, and I haven't really put up all the articles like we've been talking about, but I can do that just to show that we're not speaking out of our buttholes.
It's in an article. Well, it's on Polygon.
It's on Polygon. Well, Polygon, but I've heard it. It was on Twitter. It was going around. So yeah. And Blades in the Dark, I don't know. Blades in the Dark is part of Powered by the Apocalypse, isn't it?
I think
is there a different thing?
I think it's a slight variant. I don't think they're considered PBTA. I thought they made a comment about it.
Yeah, but
they cite Apocalypse World as a huge influence, but it's more mechanical spin on storytelling.
Yeah, but Blades in the Dark isn't very mechanical. Maybe
I've not read
what I've heard.
What little I know.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know that game. I'm not in those circles, so maybe they're true. They're right. I don't know.
Indigo Dragon just said it was not PBTA.
Okay.
Cool. And then this one I have no idea about. Dream Askew. For me, I would have put Amber Diceless there. Not that I but just
there's a bunch before these guys came around.
Oh yeah. Everway.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah. These people are high.
And then the last one is another one I have no idea before it was even published. So I don't even know if it's out yet in the summer of 2021.
Oh, well, let's see how it shook things up. Let's see. In the summer of 2021, Magpie Games launched a Kickstarter for an officially licensed Avatar: The Last Airbender RPG. And, well, it has brand recognition just from Avatar. Yeah. So it obviously is going to it funded and all that stuff.
Yeah.
10th highest funding. Let's see, what is it? From a major franchise making use of material like the Powered by the Apocalypse system. It says like, but not necessarily it. Okay. So, according to this, funding on Kickstarter demonstrates that games like Avatar have made the leap into being corporately viable rather than underground projects. I'm not sure that does that.
What do you mean?
Kickstarter does not necessarily mean you now have a game that is corporately viable, as in, I think what they're trying to say here is as corporately viable perhaps as a Pathfinder or D&D. Those are the only two you can really call. Well, no, I guess you could call 13th Age, what we're talking about tonight, from Pelgrane Press, corporately viable, whatever that means.
Right.
Oh, it was produced by Nickelodeon.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. And in this little article, this little paragraph, they don't really write a whole lot.
Because it made a lot of money, it's automatically changed gaming forever. That's horrible.
Yeah. The game has to come out.
Yep.
And people have to play it, and then it can influence a hobby. Just getting funded doesn't do that.
Yeah, lots of Monty Cook's Invisible Sun made a lot of money.
Right. And
last time you heard about that?
Say that again. Invisible Sun? Yeah, that made a lot of money.
Made a lot of money. When's the last time you heard about it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's changed gaming forever, but one of the issues in this article that's raised is whether a massive company like Nickelodeon, I don't know how massive it is, should crowdfund. But, they can, so they will, because it crowdfunding reduces their bottom line and reduces a lot of risk. They announce something, it gets crowdfunded, a year and a half, 2 years later, they produce it, which is I don't like that because you have to wait a year or two to get your stuff.
Yeah.
But that's their picks. I'm going to say that I disagree on a lot of it.
Mostly, yeah, I do too. I don't think.
And the CBR needs to do more writing and less picturing.
Yeah, that's a problem for a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So let's see here. I'm going to pop up that other article.
Okay. You want me to? I'm going to get my 13th age thing ready to roll here.
Yes.
We can talk about that soon. What are you trying to get, Joe? An article you've had before? A different article?
No, this is the Dark Souls one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yes, Dark Souls, based on 5th edition.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Oh, based on the open source version of 5th edition.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what the open source version consists of off the top of my head, but I don't think it consists of feats. Perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there were any feats in the. I think that's the freebie one is the open source one. I believe.
Say that again.
I think it was that freebie they gave away. The freebie.
It may be. I'm not sure. It's a different part of the OGL or OGL like thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Name of the company is Steamforged.
Yeah.
I don't know if Steamforged is the original maker of Dark Souls.
I'm not sure.
Yes, Steamforged, makers of Dark Souls, Resident Evil, and Horizon Zero Dawn board games.
Okay. We'll see. I mean, it might be good. So.
Might be.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing because I'm not a socialist.
You are not. You don't believe in socialism.
Socialism is sharing, is what I've heard.
Yep.
Anyway.
Okay.
Onward.
So tonight we're going to segment 2, and just like before, we're going to probably not pay too much attention to chat, so please forgive us. It's our final deep dive, finale part 2. We're going to talk about DM stuff and monsters. I wanted to begin with, Joe, campaign advice. There's a variety of things they have in here that flavor up the campaign the way that they think would go well. And I think for a DM, a lot of this makes things pretty easy. First, in terms of giving out loot. Besides magic items, money, gems, jewel, and consumable items, they have potions, they have runes, and what else? They have something else. Potions, runes. Let me see here. What else do they have besides potions and runes?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Can't remember the name of it. Oils. Yeah, so oils you put on, you slather oils onto your armor or onto a sword, and it can make it magical. Potions you can drink, you often get resistance, so you get chances to add hit points to your recharge rolls, to your recovery rolls. We talked about healing last week. I like the way they do suggest loot distribution. They have a scale. Let me do a little sharing here. They have a suggested scale for loot distribution, and they have a couple of sort of a no math approach. So you can do a gold piece award. I'm highlighting that here. I'm not sure if everybody can see that now. Is that visible, Joe?
Yes.
And so that's the gold piece per full heal up. So every time you get a chance to get your powers back, that's how much money you could possibly earn. You also can do a random roll. You can have each player roll to see after the adventure what little minor pieces of either potions, oils, or runes, or healing potions, or other sorts of little consumables that they found, and then they suggest that the players narrate what happened. I think I'm torn. I think there's something slick about that. I've always been a DM. It's not that I hate thinking about magic items, and a lot of my players would think, "Oh, you never put magic items in there." And a lot of it, and it's truthfully, I just don't think about them. I'm more worried about the adventures and the encounters and different things that could happen. And I kind of like that at first, but I think it gets a little wonky and boring for the players if I go around and say, okay, Joe, how did your character find the healing potion and 20 gold pieces? Okay, Jenny, how did your character find, 2 potions of fire resistance? And, granted, it's minuscule, but they're really abstracting that. And I think, especially, I would say Joe and I right now probably don't care for that too much now. But
No.
it does ease prep in terms of worrying about the niggling details of, whether or not are you giving away 200 gold pieces in this big fight with the ogre, or is it 350, or how many gems? I gotta put this up. Sorry. Shadzar. Whoa, no math. GTFO. I think I know what that is. And I'm a math teacher, dude, so I understand. Represent, son. But anyway, I like that. But there is some advantages to not have to worry about it. If you just want to play, if you're a beer and pretzels kind of guy and you don't want to worry about that sort of stuff, you just want to have a good time. If you're a seat of your pants DM, if you tend to go off the fly, that can be pretty sweet, right? Chadzar says it's not a real game. It's some bedtime story engine for kids. Well, I like a good bedtime story, dude. But I understand that.
Yeah.
Now, magic items are interesting. Magic items are not like magic items in probably any other game that I've.
Okay, before you power on to magic items.
Oh, I'm powering. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, you have some comments, Joe. Go ahead. Bud.
The full heal up thing.
Yes, got to hit that again.
Right. So not the full heal up itself, but basing treasure distribution on your heal ups is weird.
Agreed. I agree.
Okay, while you're healing up, here's some stuff. No. Well, we didn't find anything because that's that. So typical adventuring is you go do things, and in the course of doing things, the people that you murder, because sometimes that happens.
Yes.
You find stuff on them. Maybe you find a chest with stuff in it. Right. Sometimes you have to cut open a monster and clear out its gullet, and you find stuff in there.
Yep.
So, but you do that through exploration and testing and figuring out whether or not the DM thought of having magic items in the first place.
Yeah.
And often we were like, "What happened?"
Yeah. It's now.
But what this does,
yep.
Once again, like you were saying, abstracts it out.
Yep.
And I believe because for some people, I don't know why they think this. They think this isn't part of whatever story you might think is going on. If you don't want to think of it as story, that's fine. You found stuff. Mm-hmm. If you are into story,
yep.
Picking a lock and finding the treasure within,
mm-hmm.
in 13th Age, they'll say there'll be a note there that says "Wait for heal up."
Now, to be fair, that's just one of their suggestions.
Correct.
You can do loot and reward old school in this game.
Right.
You can just have them. You can decide how much money to give out. Though here's something I'm not sure I want to dive into. This might be a podcast topic. What the heck is money for?
In this game, nothing.
Honestly, very little. They don't have much. They have no domain play suggestions. Other than and if they did, it'd be super narrative. You just know it would be.
Right. And if you're playing out town stuff and you're in a tavern and you're buying stuff, all that stuff is so in the background and abstracted out. You don't even really spend any money doing it.
No.
It's part of upkeep. I guess, isn't there an upkeep thing in here? No, I can't remember.
I don't think so. I don't think they worry about it at all.
Yeah.
But there is a problem with there's nothing to spend your money on. You can, they say you can make some consumables. They have prices. You can make prices for some consumables, but yeah, I mean, you can collect me. Like if you look here at the table for the gold pieces per full heal up at first level. So after a full heal up, everybody should have about 100 gold pieces per character. And then when you get 10th level, it's 850 per character. And honestly, by the time you get there, you're going to have a ton of money. Then you're going to be like, what am I going to do with this? I mean, right now, when we play our campaign at CabinCon, we don't really worry about money too much. You know.
Right. And I just like Indigo Dragon. I don't do stories. I play games.
Right. Fair
Right.
enough.
So that's fine. I still in the camp that the story, there's an emergent story at the table at play.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't like this as if doling out or discovering magic items or treasure or any of that stuff isn't part of either.
Yep.
Because it is. I mean, it's a big part of the game, and it's a cool part of the stories. As if you want to think of it that way. Either way.
Yeah. Then there's something called true magic items. Are we ready to move on to that?
Yeah,
Joe?
yeah.
So true magic items, these are the things that everybody thinks of: +1 swords, +2 shields, carpets of flying. What they do, though, is they control the Christmas tree effect in a very contrived way. Well, not contrived. I don't know if I like it. For one thing, they use the word, I really hate the word chakra.
Mm-hmm.
When you should just have, so you have 10 chakras on your body, where you can put a magic item. So basically it's your armor, shield, sword, this.
They want it to sound mystical.
They do. And you can't have any more magic items, true magic items, than your level. So if you're 5th level, you can have 5 true magic items. If you have more than that, what happens is, in this world, true magic items have their own sort of personality and quirks. And I wanted to skip, if I could, to the magic items section. See if I can find it here.
You're just wanting to find some examples?
Yeah, some examples. So here, let's find armor. So can you see everything here? Let me make this a little bigger. And let me
scooch it over a little. Yeah, that's good.
Is that good? So
it's good for me. I don't know about people watching, but it's good for me.
Each type of armor adds to your armor class. Duh. An adventurer tier armor is +1, champions +2, and epic is +3. Then each type of armor, for the armor, there's a type of sort of modifier. Heedlessness armor gives you +4 to all defenses during your first turn in battle. Then it says quirk, needlessly provocative. So their idea is, if you have, let's say you have heedlessness armor, and then you get a sword +1 at first level, the quirks of your magic items would then start to come into play, and they would affect you. You would start to become needlessly provocative.
Right. You'd strip right there.
Or
hello,
you would start trouble. Needlessly start trouble, too. That's
right.
Provoking things. And
calling people names.
Yeah. That's not unlike the relationship points we talked about. I think if everybody had 3 magic items, they were 2nd level, had 5 players, you're all acting out these crazy quirks, it would be a group full of psychos.
Right.
It just wouldn't be any fun. So I ditched that from the beginning. I almost never played that. And I used a world where if you had too many magic items, I replaced the quirks with a chaos. I call it like a taint of chaos, that too much magic in your body would start to infect your mind. And so I made it sound scary enough that nobody was usually bold enough to try to, hoard magic items. I don't think I ever had to show any consequences. Now, what is interesting about magic items, they not only limit by your level, but let's say your first level, if you get a +2 set of armor, so you're a 1st level character, you're considered adventurer tier. If you get a +2 set of armor, that's champion tier. That counts as 2 slots for you. So that would take up 2 spaces, and you would automatically start showing the quirks or being, affected by the taint of the land or of the magic items. So I like them because I think the magic items do some fun stuff, and they're pretty easy to adjudicate. But I do think sometimes they feel underwhelming because they can be very narrow.
Right.
Some magic items are pretty obviously good. Like if you look stone to flesh, you get the ace. So if you had an epic suit of stone to flesh armor.
No, it's just stone flesh.
Stone flesh armor. +3 AC, and it would also apply to your physical defenses. So you get +3 to 2 defenses. Even if you don't know the game very well, that's pretty awesome.
2 of your 3.
2 of your 3 have just gone up by +3. That can be pretty boss.
That's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, but there's some items that are really quirky, and if this happens and this happens and this happens, then you get to do something awesome. But I do kind of enjoy reading about the magic items. I have a couple of books like Loot loot harder, and then loot harder something else. But
Right.
there's a lot of cool magic items, but they tend to be so quirky sometimes that you're just kind of like, they sometimes will throw you off. You have to get used to it. You can even, I think sometimes coming from D&D, you might look at it and go, man, that's weak, but you got to realize +3 is a big bonus for your armor in 13th age.
Right.
+1 is pretty good. So
yeah, to me, this part of the game seemed underdeveloped and maybe slapdashed a bit.
Well, I think they were definitely taking into account the Christmas tree effect. Let's look at one more just so we can show you. Like, for example, let's do something that's not defense. They all have a default. Well, most of them have a default bonus. So it says here, necklace or pendant. If you get a necklace or pendant magic item, its default is +1 to your saves when you have 10 or fewer hit points at adventurer tier, 25 hit points or fewer at champion, and 50 or fewer at epic. 50 or fewer at epic. That doesn't sound great, but there are very few things that give you bonuses to saving throws. So that's really pretty good. So that's the default bonus just for having the necklace. And then if you're doing the bear claw, when you hit with a melee attack while staggered, you gain temporary hit points that vary on your tier that you're in.
That's another thing this game kind of does a lot.
Yeah.
Very conditional things. When
Yeah.
you hit with a melee attack while you're staggered.
Yeah. And so there's conditionals, kind of exceptions-based design. I would say that the bear claw, notice, has a recharge 11+. If you see an item with a recharge, that means once you use that power. So once I have gained temporary hit points from being staggered, at the end of the battle, if the DM's feeling generous, or at a full heal up, if he's being super stingy, you have to roll 11 or higher on a D20 to be able to get that ability back. So unless you're 11 or higher on a D20, you would not be able to do that power of your bear claw, even though you would still get the default bonus of +1 to your saves. So yeah, I think that's where it's a little underwhelming. I would definitely agree.
I like the recharge part of this system in that instead of tracking charges, which is fine as well, you have the recharge ability, which you may or may not get. So it's harder to plan for.
Yep.
But I think it's an interesting alternative to charges and keeping track of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I think magic items and the loot distribution, yeah, I think they're okay. I enjoy the magic item descriptions, but in play sometimes they're underwhelming. Oh, Indigo Dragon. This overview of 13 Days has convinced me to play 4E again. I would play 13 Days before I would play 4E for sure.
I can see why, though.
Yeah.
Because 13th Age is more story driven than fourth edition.
Yes,
was.
Yes.
4th edition was very mechanics driven. This is not as much.
Right. I do think the uniqueness of magic items is kind of cool. It's easy to give everybody in the party very unique magic items. They're not going to have everybody's got their cloak +2, everybody's got their armor +1. That's probably not going to happen. It's not going to seem the same.
No.
But I do think sometimes they feel very situational.
Right.
So more about other campaign stuff. So when you're leveling up, go ahead. Yeah.
Do you want to stop sharing?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Almost forgot. All right. So when you're leveling up, there's no experience point, quote unquote, tables. And you gain levels like in a milestone format, usually based upon like, oh gosh, what is it? 16 encounters that are appropriately challenging or whatever. It's up to the DM. And if you do a double strength encounter, it's worth 2 encounters, triple strength 3. But they do have something called incremental advances. I did that at first, but I thought that got out of hand a little bit. So Joe's shaking his head. I think what it is so when you're doing an incremental advance, let's say you do four or 5 fights in an adventure, the night's over, and I give everybody an incremental advance. They didn't get enough to level. What you do is you look at your next level and you pick one of the aspects of your next level to add to your character sheet. Like maybe you're going to get a +1 to attack, so you're going to add that. Maybe your physical defense is going to go up, so you're going to make that better. Maybe you're going to get a new spell level. So, and that's where I found it was broken, because if you're a second level wizard and you get an incremental advance, you're going to pick
your spell.
your spell because you're going to get a third level spell, and it's going to be boss. So I really think it's pretty. That feels a little bit like a Care Bear type of mechanic. I don't really like that. Oh, here you deserve something. No, it's more like a participation trophy, you know. And it's like, and plus it screws things up with the whole leveling system. I think because what did I pick last time for my incremental advance? Oh yeah, I did add one to my armor class. I can't do it again because you can't pick the same one twice.
Right.
So I find incremental advances. While I understand their idea, it fell flat for me. What about you?
Yeah, maybe they're trying to be a little bit too much like Savage Worlds, because all their advances are incremental.
Yes.
In nature, because you don't gain levels unless you consider the tiers levels, and then each you pick one thing to do whenever you it's time to go up. So I don't know if that's what they were trying to do, but it kind of felt like that.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't really care for that, and I really don't care for the whole appropriate strength encounter mantra.
Sure.
As we talked about before.
Yeah, that's something we've become less of a fan of for sure.
Because you can count on it too much.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
It can get too predictable and boring.
I agree. What do you think about rituals? So in this game, I know 4E had a ritual mechanic. I don't know much about the ritual mechanic of 4E. But
we never really used it very much.
No,
not the 4E one, but this one. We didn't use the ritual stuff for this game for 13th Age much.
We've used it some.
Yeah.
And the idea is, if you needed to do some spell power that's not because most of their spells are offensive. If you needed to do some sort of magical ritual that can make something happen, like they said, maybe you need to sneak the whole party past these guards. Well, I don't have a spell called mass invisibility and silence. I don't think either one of them are in the game. Mm-hmm. So what you might do is you might come up with some sort of way, maybe using a relationship point with the Archmage and saying, hey, I will use I have the spell, what's something close with sneakiness? I don't know off the top of my head, say a spell that lets you, say fly. And I'm going to use that spell. You don't have to use a spell, but you can say, I use that spell and I'm going to make it like a wind's going to come by and distract the guard. He's going to smell his favorite food. He's maybe even going to, think he hears that there's a nearby food seller that's, got it. And I'm going to try to use a ritual and she'll cast that in advance so that you can sneak by him and it burns your third level spell slot and you get that off. It's weird. It's very narrative. I'm not a huge fan of it. Not many rules to it. It's meant to be something that can be story again. Yeah. So
it's some other games that use ritual. They use the word ritual in a more appropriate manner, in my opinion, where they have them spelled out to some degree.
Right.
And then suggestions for how to have them in your game. So instead of just coming up with it on the fly, which is okay. I'm not against having impromptu magic in the game.
Right.
But, I think the rituals in this game, they're just a little bit open-ended and too narratively driven.
Yeah.
I think it's better to have, like, you find a ritual in a dusty tome, or maybe your master has imparted to you the knowledge of a couple different rituals that you can do. And in other games, you don't necessarily have to be a spellcaster to participate in it, though a lot of them you do need to have one caster. Yeah, and then you just gather the requisite materials and do the whatever instructions are there for you to do for the ritual, and then you do it. And then there's some games have a chance of success, others it just works.
Yeah, I've seen it used at our game, and I thought it was cool. I've seen it used where it wasn't cool. Darth Theat makes a good comment. I do kind of like the ritual spell casting in 5e. There's a limited number of spells that are rituals, and they take like 15 minutes per level to cast without using a spell slot.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I don't mind that at all. Actually, that's one of the better. That's one of the better qualities of 5e. Actually, I think 13th Age is too loosey goosey, and I think we forget about it a lot.
Right.
They do have a suggestion for how to run a 10 session campaign. If you don't want to run a long term campaign, they say, make a bunch of really cool fight, make the fights very, very tough and just let characters level after each session. I don't think that's in any way ingenious, but I mean, that's a good suggestion if you want to play through the game quickly. One thing you'll find is the game doesn't play that different through the levels. The damage is bigger. So, which is part of the good and the bad of the math being fairly well balanced. I want to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, Joe, about the tiered environment and trap design. I'm going to share my screen again here. I want to show some stuff. Here we go. We are looking at, oh gosh, where was I? I just left it. Okay, I went the wrong way. So where is my, here we go. So environment chart by tier. So we're talking adventurer, champion, and epic. They make suggestions that if the characters are levels 1 to 3, the type of the environment should be adventurer always, and then 4th level, some champion, 5th level, half of each. And so if you look at that chart there, it tells you how to set the tiers up. And of course, you might be thinking, what are the tiers? Well, the tiers of play, or the tiers in the environment, would make the environmental challenges, DCs, change. That's both good and bad. Mm-hmm. It can make the game feel samey, meaning that no matter what level you are, hard tasks are still hard, ridiculously hard tasks are still ridiculously hard. So it may feel like at no time do you get so good that a ridiculously hard task for an adventurer tier character would be a 25. Well, once you get to epic, we ratchet that up to 35. So unless you let the characters have some success, you can say adventuring in the local woods and near the, what do I call it, the ruins of the Tower of the Orcish, what do I call it, Orcish Glory. So that may be a champion tier environment. So the DCs would be set to that middle set. So if you have a normal task, it would be 20, hard task 25, ridiculously hard task would be 30. And then maybe adventuring around the moat house near Hamlet is only an adventurer tier environment. I think it's good for setting DCs, and it's appropriately, the right numbers where it's moderately challenging. But I think it's, the more I look back at it, this is one of the problems I think of 13 Days that I don't want to necessarily have those things set in stone so that everything in the moat house is adventurer tier. It does make for easy game design, and the players can feel like they have some they can have some success, because they will have it. So
yeah. When I first read this, I was like, "This is weird."
Yeah, there's something about it that's nice in terms from this again from the DM's viewpoint. It's nice. It's much more simplified rather than in D20. If you're making a jump check, it's 10 plus one for every 5 feet, or plus 1 for every 2 feet that you jump. Unless you're running, then it's plus 1 for every 4 feet that you jump. That can get a little bit, and trying to remember those rules, that can get a little crazy. Here, that it's generally these numbers, 15 to 35, depending on the tier, and you can modify them 2 or 3. If you want to make it harder, make it a 37. Make it a 40. That'd make it really.
Or since you have a range that goes from 15 to 35 in 5 increments of 5.
Yep.
You could ignore. You could ignore the fact that you don't have to say something like, "This is a champion tier environment."
No.
What you can just say is something else. You don't even have to use those words.
No.
You can just use that that range of 15 to 35.
If you got a group of characters that are going to go into the Tower of Orcish Glory, I could say, dudes, you've heard lots of rumors about this place. It's super deadly. It's swarming with orcs. They say the cousin to the Orc Lord actually is the general there. I mean, if you guys want to do this on your own, okay. just be aware. And I'm basically saying you're going into an environment that's a little bit out, you're batting out above your weight class. So, fighting above your weight class. So, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, so there's some ways to do it. You don't have to say Orchid's Glory's champion, Mode House's adventurer.
Because that's a real MMO type.
Yes. I think it's best used behind the screen. And then I would agree with what Indigo Dragon said a minute ago, that he likes that. That's one of the things he really likes about 13th Age. One thing I like is how it uses the three tiers of plays. Again, we're talking about DM advice. So I think from a DM's viewpoint, it's good. Just don't use it so ham-fisted. Don't tell the players you are now entering an epic tier environment.
Yeah, that sounds dumb.
It sounds dumb. Yeah. Trap design is on a similar scale, and this I do like because I can design traps, what they call impromptu damage. So they don't do elaborate trap designs. They just say, like, for example, is this pretty clear on the screen there, Joe?
Yeah.
So look, if you want a really hard adventurer tier trap, so it says the skill check to find it would be a 20. I can't highlight part of it. And that means if it was a trap that was attacking someone, it would have +10 to roll, whether it's an armor class, attack, a physical defense, or mental defense attack. And the damage would be 3d6 against a single target or a d12 against multiple targets. So they give you some idea of how tough to make traps. There is some advantage to that because that chart is much simpler than most other games where you have to build the trap yourself. And I can just design it however I want. And just, on the fly, I could design it and say, hey, what happens? And take this much damage. And I can know the DC is not impossible. I can know the attack roll is not too good. And I could just, use it. To me, that helps me.
This is something that's exploitable. Again, it has DC checks that range from 15 to 35. So if you're in a D20 style game, those numbers are perfectly good. And even though it goes from adventurer to champion, you could in the degree of challenge column, you can always imagine those words a little differently. So if you are in the champion tier environment, but it might be instead of 20, it might be a 15 to do. Instead of calling it normal, you can call it routine or easy or something like that.
Right. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the monsters then.
Yeah.
We get to building battles last. Let's see here. Here we go. So your monsters, there's a list of monsters. I really like the list. You can find them quickly. So if you notice here, monsters are by level. There's different size monsters, normal, normal, medium, large, and huge. And large and huge are double strength and triple strength, respectively. And then certain monsters fall into categories of mooks and troops and wreckers. So they do kind of what you think. The mooks are the ones that you fight gobs of. You tend to be able to kill bunches of them at one time, either with area of effect spells, or they even let the players describe really cool actions that they make. So let's say Joe's barbarian swings and does 40 damage, and there's 4 or 5 mooks around him. He's attacking one technically, but they each have 10, so he could kill 4 of them in one swing. So they let damage roll over to the next one. It definitely makes tracking the mooks and the minions a lot easier because they die in groups.
Right.
And one thing I learned from a friend, Dave, is that you can put mooks in different groups. So you can have 2 different mobs of mooks, just kind of a MMO terminology. And it lets you make them a little bit tougher because you can't hit one mook from one group and damage a different group. It sometimes gets weird, though, doesn't it, Joe?
It does. Especially if you have a group of mooks and they kind of separate.
Yep.
So if you you can end up hitting one and blowing through its hit points and then killing one that's across the room. Yeah. So if you strictly adhere to the mook rules.
Yeah, and I feel like the game would work better if you didn't strictly adhere to it.
I mean, you can always describe something like my barbarian. I shove my axe through the neck of this goblin here, and then I fling my dagger across.
Yeah.
Or not my dagger because it would do different damage.
Right.
Or I throw the axe and impale that other goblin over there against the wall or some such.
But what if you crit and kill 4 of them? Then I run over, grab my axe, hit another one. Then it gets weird. So
it gets weird.
I think for me, I would probably cut that down. I know that would make mooks tougher because it can be deadly. But yeah, so mooks are lower.
So it's a little more challenging. Yay, yeah. That's actually a good thing in this game.
Yeah, and the mooks are interesting because they tend to have low hit points and they die in bunches, but they have decent attack. They don't miss tons of times. They usually hit the PCs a few times in the battle, so you can get pretty annoying taking a little damage.
Yeah.
Worse if they inflict some sort of condition on you, and you're like, man, these mooks are making me stuck. I need to kill these dudes.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons you love having wizards with fireballs and what's our favorite force spell? Force salvo. Or salvo. Yeah, to take care of those annoying mooks because they really are annoying. Not like mooks in say Pathfinder or D&D where you're like, I'm 10th level, I got an armor class of 31, I'm fighting goblins, they can't hit me. Doesn't matter, they can't hit me. You have to level them all up. So how could you have a bunch of, in this game they assume that they're leveled up, so which is kind of weird. I mean, you can have goblins from level 1 to level 5 or 6, so but I guess that makes sense in terms of you could have tougher goblins, but it's weird when you have a mook. They literally have mooks. Let me see if I can find it. I think they have up to 9th level mooks, which is pretty weird.
Right.
Because in this game, 9th level is pretty huge. So if you look here, let me scoot this over. Let me see if I can find a 9th level mook. And there it is. Hook Demon.
It's
literally a mook. It's a demon mook, but it's 9th level. But you can imagine that's not a fight for 3rd or 4th level characters. That demon mook. One demon mook would be tough for a 3rd level group. But,
right.
But a 10th level group would fight probably 20 of them and kill them quickly. So, yeah, that's the interesting thing about it. Monster statistics. Maybe I should talk more about the types a little bit. I'm not sure.
Okay, before you get too much more into it,
yes,
I'm going to say I really like how they do monsters in 13th Age.
Yeah,
because monsters are not handled like PCs.
Yes.
They are much different. You have a lot less to deal with any particular monster, unless it's like a dragon, a big dragon. They got more stuff going on, but they do because they're dragons.
Yes.
But most of your monsters are pretty straightforward and easy to do, and they have a big chart.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it may be this book too. There's a big.
Oh, it is. There's a chart for the
just if you want to just come up with a monster, a word, a name for a monster, on the fly, and you can get stats right out of a chart. It works pretty good. You don't necessarily need to worry about really precise things.
Here it is.
When you can't find a particular monster that you want to use.
Yeah, let's say you think of a cool mook and you want them to challenge a couple of 4th level characters. You can pick 4th level mooks, and this is their attack bonus +9, strike damage 7, damage to kill. Each one has 14 hit points. Their AC is 20. Their next best defense, whether it's PD or MD, you decide is 18, and their lesser defense is 14. You can pull that open and you can run a fight straight from that chart.
And then I don't know if they have a chart or a list of special abilities, but if you can think of something cool they can do on the fly, once you get used to using this, you can just roll out monsters without any effort, really.
Yeah, but the troops, the different types of monsters, mooks are the minions, the one you just kick the crap out of, sort of nonstop.
Right.
I'm trying to get back to this.
And it keeps people on their toes because you don't get to memorize the monster stats.
No, you really don't, because it doesn't really help you. They have troops are more like, they're not mooks. They don't go down in bunches. They tend to have pretty high hit points and enough to be able to hold their own. Blockers, here's the skeletal hound. He's a blocker. He probably has some way to keep you in place, keep you away from a leader type. And a leader type is usually a spellcaster or someone that can direct the other bad guys around. There's wreckers, like this Hellhound's a wrecker. That means his damage is pretty boss for his level. He probably has a lower defense. He's not too hard to hit, but he's going to knock the crap out of most people. And then you have a spoiler. They usually tend to impart effects like hampered and weakened, and so they tend to spoil the fights. Yeah. D4 pudding sling attack. If he goes with tapioca. Baron G Rock, sweet.
In the realm of unique attacks, a D4 pudding sling attack, which goes to D6 if he goes with tapioca.
Right. But yeah, that's the categories of monsters. I want to get in. Joe talked about the statistics, and so I really want to get into one of those. So let's look at a couple of monsters here.
Owlbears. Are they in this one?
They are, sir. I figured you would ask for that again because we mentioned it quickly last time. Let me find this dude. Owlbear. My kingdom for an owlbear. Let's see here. All right, we're getting close. Is that the owlbear? No. Owlbear, Joe's favorite. So, if you look at that, some wilderness tribes have an abnormal.
You might want to zoom up a little bit and center it because it's pretty small from my point of view.
Okay.
The wordage.
Right. Give me a second here. This is riveting YouTube.
Yes. Randy is trying to make it visible to our friendly audience, and it's a little challenging because we're new at this. So
is this better or worse?
Now you're imitating an eye doctor.
How's that looking?
So that's good. If you could. There you go.
Okay, so now I can't see it. Ooh. So now if I move it this way, there's the owlbear.
Yeah.
Okay. Some wilderness tribes have an abnormal fear of both owls and bears, a testament to the savagery. That's just some comment of this preposterous hybrid. It is a large, which means it's double strength, 4th level wrecker. 4th level means it's appropriate for 4th level characters, roughly. Its initiative is +8. So
which is pretty good.
Right. And so what Joe's talking about is they have a lot of attacks that are based either upon the escalation die or triggered by something else. So you have this rip and peck attack. So when it rolls in, it's +9 to attack versus AC. Notice that damage is static. That's all the monsters. And until the end of the owlbear's next turn, the target is hampered. Now, that's a pretty serious
condition.
Yeah, while engaged with the owlbear. So as long as you're engaged with him, you're hampered if he hits you.
Essentially, you're only using your lowest attacks.
Yeah, your weakest attack. Basically, you're swinging a sword, you're shooting your bow, nothing else.
The only one this works really well for, though, is the barbarian.
Yes, because that's kind of how he rolls.
Yeah.
He's a vicious hybrid. If the escalation die is even, he can make another rip and peck attack. So every other round, he gets to attack twice. If he scores a critical hit, he feeds the cub. So if you're an enemy, if you're a hampered enemy, if he hampers you and then scores a critical hit, notice all these conditions, all these little
edge case.
Edge cases. The GM chooses a limb, he rips it off and takes it home to feed the cubs. The torn up enemy is stunned until the end of its next turn. Whereas, in a D&D game, I would say you're more than stunned. You're bleeding out.
Just stunned from having your arm ripped off?
Yeah, your leg. I would say you're dead.
Wow.
I would say you're dead, but
or on the way to it because you got blood spurting out of a stump.
Right. It says they're silent hunters. Owlbears are nearly silent until they strike. Checks to hear them approaching take a -5 penalty.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, their AC is 19, physical defense 17, mental defense 13, hit points 101. So they can be some pretty tough hombres. And then they go on to describe, usually an icon connection to that monster. I think that's a lot of fluff, but it's pretty good. It gives you a lot of ideas for what these dudes, why they're around, But I think if you look at the stat block, it's very small. I mean, it's a few stats. And to me, that's probably, I'm with you, it's one of the greatest advantages as a DM. You can literally pull a monster out of the book and Indigo Dragon nailed it there. Monty Python, the RPG. It can be if you're not careful. It gets a little goofy. So
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing. The owlbear ripping your arm off is cool, but then what's the result? Well, you're stunned.
yeah, you're slightly annoyed.
Yeah,
So let me see here. Let me find another one. Let's do a dragon.
yeah, might as well.
Yeah, it is Dungeons and Dragons. So let's look at the huge red. This
Huge
is not
red.
this is not the biggest dragon they have, but he's pretty boss. This guy is pretty BA. So notice the art's pretty weak sauce. So they don't really try too hard on the art. Can you see that?
Some of the art is okay. It's just sparse. It's sparse too.
For the monsters in the core book, the art they do these little snippets. So I don't know. Is this pretty visible to people?
Yes, yeah, I think so.
So he's a triple strength 13th level wrecker. Okay, you don't want to mess with this guy unless you're pretty good level, probably 9th or 10th. His initiative plus 19. He gets fangs, claws, and tail attack. So he is plus 19 3 times around, each hit doing 70 damage. Now think about this. Joe's 10th level barbarian is going to have in the neighborhood of 300 hit points, and Homeboy's going to hit him. First natural even hit or miss. Notice the conditions. Roll a 4th attack at plus 19 for 70 damage.
And at plus 19 to hit, he's going to hit. He's not missing.
Second natural, well, that's not always true. For barbarian, you're going to get hit. Yeah. Second natural even hit or miss. Roll a 5th attack. So this dude can roll out if he makes 2 natural even hits or misses. Now, if he does 2 natural even hits, he's going to get a chance to do 5 attacks, doing 70 damage each. He would take out Joe's barbarian if he was focused on him.
Right.
He'd be dead. He can breathe his breath weapon. Now notice it's plus 19 with his first physical defense. A lot of characters' PD is much lower than their AC. So Joe's barbarian would have a pretty good one. His PD would be higher. 2d3 nearby or far away enemies, 80 fire damage. He rolls at plus 19. There's no saving throw. He rolls to hit your physical defense. If he hits, you take 80. If he misses, you take half. And yes, folks, if he rolls a 20, he does 160.
Yeah. And in this case, he's either doing the claw bite routine or entail or the breath weapon, not both.
Doesn't do both. Dragons in general have intermittent breath, which means they use their fiery breath a d6 times per battle, but never 2 turns in a row. So in other words, you just roll it, and whatever you get, that's how many times he uses it. So you'll never know. Like in old D&D, wasn't an old D&D first edition?
3 times.
3 times, yeah. That's no longer the case. Fear is a huge power for monsters. So any enemies with 144 hit points or less are dazed and do not add the escalation die to their attack. Trust me, creatures go down to 144 or less very quickly against this guy. So he'll be putting fear on a lot of people. That's a pretty tremendous penalty, and not getting the escalation die is the worst. So this guy has potential to mess up somebody's day. His resistance fire 18 plus. So if you target him with a fire attack, you have to roll 18 or higher. Only gets half damage. And notice the hit points on Homeboy. 1200. AC 28, PD 27, MD 23. So he's pretty awesome.
Right. What was I getting ready to say? So there's that 18 plus. That's an 18 or higher on the die.
Correct. Not with your modifier.
Not with the modifier.
Correct.
To bust through his fire resistance.
Right. So I really enjoy the way look, this is a high level monster, and he's really not even half a page.
Right.
Right. And so to me, I enjoy that because I got so weary in 3rd edition when a monster had 4, even in 2nd edition and 1st edition, some of the demons would have 4,000 spell powers. And if you want to have them be a fight, if he's not the big boss or they're not making plans, but if you're doing a big fight and some demons get summoned in, you've got to keep track of 45 million things they can do. And half those things are crap.
Right.
So I'm like, why are you even giving these powers? If I guess for demons and devils, you could say they, a devil especially, they would use their powers to manipulate and stuff, which is fine. But I do really, really like this style of the monsters.
You can always flesh it out a little more if you want. This is just the quick and dirty.
Yeah, you can do what you want. I think that the worst part about monsters is I think they always seem better on paper than when they come against the PCs. I mean, this guy looks awesome, but a party of 4 or 5 10th level characters in 13th age would be pretty awesome. So they might take care of business with this guy. So, I mean, they probably.
Then again, he might roll in, breathe fire on all of them.
Yeah.
And then by the second, third round, they're all afeared.
Yeah. And they don't get access to the escalation die, so they can't hit him. And you're like, So, yeah, it could probably get ugly fast.
Yeah.
Right rolls. Well, we've not made it quite to that point yet. I've not used too many dragons, though. Last Cabin Con, you guys did fight a big 2-headed dragon, and that was pretty cool.
It was.
So, yeah. I do want to talk a little about encounter building. This is one thing that I think is, for all the CR systems that exist, I think this is one of the easier ones to implement. So, generally speaking here, and I don't know how much bigger I need to make this.
Is
that okay?
That's probably fine.
Okay, so if you're building an encounter, let's say you're going to build an encounter. If you're caring about balance, they suggest that at if you have 3 or 4 third level characters, 4 third level monsters would be an appropriate battle. Okay. If you have now at the champion tier, they suggest you add 1 more. So if you're 4 5th level characters, then 4 6th level monsters would be an average or appropriate encounter
of the same size category.
Right. So be careful. So if they're a normal size beast, 6th level, not a 6th level large, because they count. So for example, if you're champion tier, if they are 1 level higher, okay, that's considered a normal battle. Notice it says normal counts as 1. Okay. If they are 2 levels higher at champion tier, right, then normal counts as 1.5. But when you get to the large ones, and I don't think you can see all this, there's large and huge here.
Yeah, large. Yeah, there you go.
So if you're going to fight a huge creature, a huge 3rd level creature, and you're a 3rd level party, that is 3 of your 4 monster budget. So if you've got 4 3rd level characters and they're going to face off against a huge 3rd level monster, then that counts as 3 of the 4. That's assuming that you want to have a fair battle. And they are very obvious. They say it. There's nothing wrong with making battles unfair. And I'll be honest with you, short of going way outside. I mean, if you got 3rd level characters and you put them against 8th level monsters, they're going to die. If you put them against 6th level monsters, they're probably going to die. 5th level, they might get lucky, but probably a couple of dudes are going to die. You can't go too far out of your weight class. If you do, things get pretty hairy. But I will say that these characters are resilient if you have just groups and groups of monsters rolling in and attacking them. So they get reinforcements and reinforcements. The fight can become tough, but the players seem to be able to hang in there.
Yeah.
I think a typical fight that I do is double strength. So what I mean is I would put 4 3rd level characters up against 8 3rd level monsters. And that makes it double tough. And they can do it. And if you do and they can even do triple. But what happens is, and this is the book talks about it, is they're probably going to expend more resources.
Yep.
You probably should give them more than just a 1 encounter tick for the experience leveling up. I tend to be at Cabin Con. I tend to do double strength as a default for my fights because I find that it gives you guys the right challenge without being, too much.
The appropriate challenge category in this game and just about every other D20 style game that employs that. The appropriate means cakewalk.
Yes, that's what
in general.
Yeah, I think that's been true for 3rd edition and definitely 5th edition.
Which is why no one should use it.
Right. But you have to be a little careful in this game because if you get too far, hold on. Shadzar, can this game get any worse? No. And I want you to come play the game with me at VentureCon.
This is not OSR in any stretch.
No, this was
It's
Randy would
not
know.
old school. It's not OSR, OSG. Any
No,
old school moniker does not apply to this.
this is not it. But I do think it adds a lot to. Um, I like it. If you're okay with the CR system, this is one of the more simple ones that I've seen. I don't think it's terribly complex to keep track of. I think you can make some good fights with it. But as Joe said, like any CR system I've seen, if you follow the rules, it's rarely a good fight. It's usually easy.
Yeah.
And it's because we have more experienced players and they can max their characters out. And, yeah, we've talked about that with modules and especially with Pathfinder. The Pathfinder Adventure Pass, as is, tend to be too weak for you guys.
Right. This game does not have a min-max problem like a lot of
No, that's true.
So when you trick out your encounters as a DM, the players are not going to be able to they're not going to be able to at all min-max and hope that they're going to do okay. Because there is no min-maxing.
Not really.
No.
There
are some optimal choices, but they're only optimal by a small margin.
Yes, I've 100%.
So that is one. We should put that in the pro column at the end of the thing. Is no min-maxing for those folks who don't like, which is quite a bit.
Yeah,
quite a bit of people who poo-poo all over min-maxing.
Yeah, hey, Max is here. He's a little bit late. It's all right. Good to see a Legion of Myth guy in here. Yeah, and it's understandable. I think we got a lot of more OSR type guys here, and that's cool. I mean, this is just a game that we've enjoyed. It's a game that I find. Well, we're getting into that in a minute. I think there's an adventure at the end of the book. It talks about how they like to use that. They meaning Heinzu and Tweet, when they create adventures, they like to leave what the icons are doing in the adventure, how it's affecting the story. Leave that up to what the players do and bring, and they do a good example in their adventure of how to manipulate it so that the foes are one icon or the other. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. So, unless you wanted to get into anything or not, I feel like I'm done here, Joe. Oh, of course, this game doesn't have a min-max problem because it has no players. This has to be what Daniel Kibblesmith used to make Safe Spade and Snowflake and the rest of the new Warriors. Shadzar. You're going to play in a 13th Age game one day with me, and you're going to love it. And then I'm going to tell everyone how much you loved it.
You'll have to put him in an arm bar or something.
I know. Get him in a headlock.
Yeah. All right. So, have we covered the bases? Are we ready for a synopsis?
I think we're ready for our
pros and cons.
Yeah, about 13th Age. All right. You want me to go first? Or you want to go first?
You go. You go first.
Okay. So, for me, I think the pros are it's very easy to prep. It's high action. So, you're thinking, high adventure all the time. Combat rules are simple. If you know D20 from any version of D&D, you can do this. Monsters are very easy to run. Great to teach new players on because the mechanics are simple. And I think it's perfect for one-shots of any level. I've always, I've tried at Cabin Con to run. I did that 20th level, 10 mythic tier Pathfinder game a few years back. And it was just way too much work.
Lots of moving parts.
Yeah. And as a one-shot, had they been organically grown characters, Joe loves that word, where we played them up from 1 to 20 or from 5 to 20, maybe it'd been okay. But 13th Age, I could plop down 5 9th level characters, and my dudes at Cabin Con, anybody there, any of the 20 plus guys that would be there, they would be perfectly fine playing those 9th level characters. There'd be some questions, but it would go pretty smoothly.
Right.
And I do like that about it. What are your pros for the game, Joe?
They're similar. You can start the game in 10 minutes or less from zero, nothing.
Yeah, from nothing.
Yeah. If you're good at improv, they don't have a lot of tables for you to use, but you can find lots of resources random tables so you can do your impromptu lazy DM style stuff with this game, and you don't need anything.
No,
you can have 4 people without a character sitting down at your table, and 10 minutes later you're playing.
Yeah,
less, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And like you said about D20, it's a very familiar feel for any of us who've played in the myriad of D20 style games. It's easy to get into. We got into it a little bit with backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it's the one element of this game, one of the few elements of this game I think that can be exploited in other systems.
Yep.
So that you don't have to have a laundry list of skills.
Like 500 skills, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. My cons, and Joe will probably concur on these, very predictable combat. After you played a while with the escalation die, it does seem to be at the beginning, players are like, oh my God, because the monsters seem tougher than normal because they have no extra bonuses. Then in the middle, it's getting easier. And by the time we get to escalation, if it's not over, usually it's around escalation 4 or 5, it ends.
Yeah.
But we've had fights that last on escalation 6 for 3 rounds. It's happened.
Yeah.
The players are usually, starting to kick butt. I think relationship points, while I like the idea of them, they lead to the not good chaos. Too many different connections, too many different icons, and they're using all these, bonuses in the game. It gets kind of weird. I think the one unique things can distract from the verisimilitude of the world. Too many. I am the only sister of the Archmage. I am the confidant of the High Druid. That sort of, look how I got friends in high places and I'm only first level. That can be kind of weird. And the rules favor the PCs too much. In the end, there's little to no threat of death and way too many damn rerolls. A lot of character powers are rerolls. I have a group that we played where there's like 3 characters that could allow rerolls on stuff. It was crazy.
And interruptions. Lots of interrupts.
Interrupts, yeah. If you use the expanded character classes, and from other Splat books, there's character classes like the Commander, interrupts and rerolls. And the who's the one that our buddy Jeff played? The Occultist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Reroll. On your turn, when you hit, I can do this. It's like, wow. Yeah, it can be frustrating.
Yes, Powder Puff nerd. Backgrounds are challenging for peeps that are used to lists and more concrete structures.
Yep.
Like her.
Yeah, well, and like a lot of the OS, probably, that's not OSR. That's more like, if you're, I don't know. I would say D&D. If you're an OSR D&D guy, you're probably not really used to that.
Right.
But you're really not used to having skills much in your game, except
right.
What did they call it? Profession. What did they call it back in first edition? You would have your
non-weapon proficiencies.
Non-weapon proficiencies.
But they weren't core to that game. Yeah. Non-weapons. I don't remember precisely. It's been so long. I think they came up. The first thing I think the Dungeoneer Survival Guide or Wilderness Survival Guide introduced them, perhaps, and then they made it into the second edition Player's Handbook, something like that.
Yeah.
The details are fuzzy, but in that general realm.
But a lot of games, have a list of skills that you use. I'm thinking of like Rifts and Palladium. I think they have lots of skills, and so, I mean, I guess that would be hard for someone coming from those systems. What's that?
1.5. I think that's alluding to the Wilderness and Dungeoneer Survival Guides is where they came from, I believe. Yeah. Plus Earth Arcana.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tim Scott mentioned that this is a note for. Don't forget the occultist is awesome when he dies. That's true. The occultist can do some weird stuff. So yeah, kind of odd. But when he dies, dies means below 0. But that game's not really dead. You're not really dead. So yeah. So I mean, it's not that players can't die, characters can't die. They can. It's just I don't think it's terribly easy unless you. I don't know.
It's not geared for it.
It's not geared for it. Not really.
No, the gear. Okay, so we're going. Are you done with your cons?
Mm-hmm.
So too many, and I'm agreeing. Too many mechanics are in favor of the PCs. I think the game should be agnostic as far as PC success goes. It shouldn't the game shouldn't be geared for success or failure of the PCs. Really, it should say these are the rules. And this game is really geared for PC success with the escalation die, the relationship points, all the rest mechanics, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I think it's really it's in favor of the PCs.
I agree. Too much.
Yeah. The PCs start out as heroes instead of becoming the heroes. I mean, they have backgrounds that, and the one unique thing issues and relationship points, which means they're important players in the game world already, which is really weird.
It is weird.
Yeah. At first level, even if you have if you're competent in your role at first level, you don't have to be like first level in first edition or basic, where you're pretty much a scrub and you can barely lift your dinner fork up to feed yourself.
Right.
You could be competent, have some power, but not be that important overall in the game world, and not have established yourself as heroic yet.
Right. It's almost like you've lived an amazing life before you even started.
Right. So you really should. I mean, it's a different play style. Yeah. Some people like to start out as the hero. They craft their background, write a 40-page essay about their character and how they became so much of a hero, instead of playing it out in the first place.
But to be fair,
or to play it.
13 Days doesn't try to push you to write massive background.
No.
But I think the OUTs, one unique things, and that definitely add to it. So, yeah.
Right.
It's a power fantasy for sure.
And Powder Puff already alluded to mine. Backgrounds are double-edged. They're neat, but they have the drawback of being challenging for inexperienced players. And someone's just a temperament type of thing. You may not want. I don't know anything about this character. I barely know his name and his class. Let's just play. I'll figure it out. That's the way I like to play.
Yeah. Right. Figure it out as you go. Yeah.
Oh. With a game like this, you can play a barista in a cafe.
Well, that could be one of your backgrounds, but my game, Tim, there won't be no baristas. We won't be cafe in it. Cafe will be blowing up.
I served coffee to the emperor.
Yes, what a great background. That was his imperial coffee server. Cafe expert. Yeah. So, anything else?
I don't think so. I think overall, while initially liked the game, now I'm to the point where I'd rather play an OSR title. I think.
Yeah, I think for me,
it's way too narrative.
Yes, I think I would relegate it to some quick high action games at Cabin Con, and it would definitely be not one that I'm overly enthused to run a full campaign 1 to 10 at my table at home. I'm not saying I wouldn't, because I've had a heck of a time with it. I think I like it more than Joe. So if we could rate it with a number, 10 being the best game you ever played, 1 being the biggest piece of garbage ever, could you give it a number right now?
4 at most.
Yeah. See, I'd lean more towards 6. There's a lot of things that I like about it, but it's definitely a little too narrative. It could be. I think even in our discussion, I've thought of ways that I could make it more challenging for players. I think less recoveries.
Oh, it's not that hard to make it a little more challenging. However, if you can do it in a way that doesn't take away the unique things about this game,
right?
But if you don't like narrative games,
this is not for you.
And because if you take all of the narrative elements out of this game, it's no longer 13th Age. You might as well play something else, like 4th edition.
Yeah, right. True. That's what you're right. So,
or I would recommend 1st edition D&D or a clone of it.
Yeah.
If you don't have that book and you want, what is the latest 1st edition clone? What is the one that's not
OSE? No,
that's not OSE, because I think that's more of a Beckme thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think they've got advanced OSE, which is more like adding some of the 1st edition stuff. I don't know. Yeah, but the latest 1st edition clone, I don't know. Last I heard,
but you can get all the 1st edition books from Drive-Thru RPG if you want to give them your money, or you can get them from You might be able to get a cheap version on eBay.
There you go, Max Osric.
That's a first edition clone.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Some say it's better written. I have a copy, but I haven't read it yet. They say it's better written than the first edition.
Well, that wouldn't be hard to do.
No, that's true.
If you keep the rules, you can organize it better. You could easily come up with a better presentation than that game. But that was like the first, well, let's say third edition of the game, really.
Oh, yeah.
You got OD&D and then BECME and then first edition. So unless you consider BECME 5 editions, but I think that's weird if you do.
Well, even if you want to get technical, you can talk about the Mold Bay edition of the basic set and versus the who was it? Eric J. Holmes basic set. I mean, there's basic expert and then there's basic expert companion. What's M? Master Immortal?
M is Master.
Yeah, M is Master Immortal. So
no, Master Immortal is I.
Yeah.
Master and then Immortal, yeah.
WotC only gets 15% of the cover on DTRPG. What? For anything, they get 15%? Is that true?
Well, for, titles that they have the ownership of.
That's it? Oh, he corrected that. 75%.
Oh, 75.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want to do that.
Well, I don't want to pay them nothing anyway.
No.
I'd rather buy them on eBay. Find somebody who's got the books and buy them on eBay.
Even the reprints, I guess so. That's all you can get anyway.
Yeah.
Book-wise, hardbacks, the old stuff.
For some reason, the old school books are like super collectible. I don't quite get it, but I kind of have a problem. A problem's not the right word. I find it odd that role-playing games are quote-unquote collectible, but whatever.
I mean, if it had an authentic signature or authentic signature from the developers or whatever, to certain people, they would be valuable.
Oh, Powder Puff Nerd's got an interesting comment. I wouldn't mind them to expand upon it.
I feel characters can be a bit ambiguous, but I can tend towards logic and numbers. In 13th Age, is that what you're talking about?
I think so. I think they're saying they prefer their characters to be described by numbers and more hard facts. And that's fair.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. All right. So we want to move on?
Yeah. We'll move on to our one random question for tonight. I don't know if you're going to provide that. I put that link to that video that you said you guys discussed on Friday Night Chill stream with Max.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to get into it too much.
No, but my question was this. The one random question was this, and we'd like to invite our people, of course, to comment on it, the ones that are here tonight. Will the RPG hobby ever bounce back from the current woke leftist invasion? Is it a hopeless thing? Will the main hobby ever become less that?
Well, I think the only way it's going to is if somebody that's not in that crowd provides enough competition to shift away from those folks. And the other thing is we don't need it to. We just need a viable alternative. So and we have lots of OSR clones and we have our old books. So it's not like those of us who don't want to buy What Wizard stuff or Path or Paizo stuff, or anybody who doesn't like us, like Evil Hat, and there's a number of companies out there that are less vocal about who they hate. But we got our stuff, and there's plenty of people making stuff like RPG Pundit and others who either actively talk out against these people or just not getting involved in the political discussions. And I think there's, whether or not they're good or whatever is up to your personal opinion. But there's a lot of people putting out a lot of stuff that you don't need to buy from the folks that don't like you.
Well, Shadrar said I already made several videos on the pendulum swinging back and has already begun. I guess I don't want it to go back to the right. I want it to just stay sort of in the center. And let's see, T-shirt historian. People are already complaining because the digital properties they purchased through WotC or D&D are being altered. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that was the thing.
they're doing the not this thing, not that thing. Yeah,
Yeah, altering already purchased products,
yeah.
which, I mean, I understand people being upset about that because they bought one thing and now it's getting changed on them.
So, but if
All you
you
had to do, though, is read the terms and conditions and realize it's an electronic product that you don't have on your computer independent of them. It's in their system, so at any point they can change anything in there.
is that true at drive through? So if I bought something
Not
from
drive through, not drive through. This is
D&D,
DM's Guild.
oh, DM's Guild.
DM's Guild. Yeah. So if you own properties on DM's Guild, um, I don't know that I don't ever buy anything from there. So I don't know if you download onto your computer or if it's only openable within a DM's Guild environment, either online or as an app on your computer. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I think yeah. What's that? Kids never buy anything from DM's Guild. Is that true?
No, he's saying kids never buy anything. Yeah.
Okay. Kids do not.
The emphasis is not selectable.
Right.
Yes, he's saying don't do it. And I decided after getting too invested in, what was that one for Pathfinder I did a lot of?
Hero Lab.
And I didn't spend all that much money in it, but lots of time and all. Yeah, I wasn't going to do that again.
Yeah. Shadow makes an interesting comment. We talked about this a lot. Gary acknowledged his game women would be sexually, what is it, dimorphic? What's that supposed to be? Dimorphi? And have lower stats, but didn't fault 2E for removing.
Right. Dimorphic means different, men and women are different.
Yeah. And I think I remember seeing those strength caps and stuff. I mean, let's be honest. Unless because you're not going to create, unless you want to create, like we talked, we didn't like, an 18 strength for a halfling is not as big as an 18 strength for a human. If you're not going to do that, women wouldn't have the same strength, wouldn't be able to attain the same strength values naturally as men. But we're playing a fantasy game, so let people be Xena. Let them be the big barbarian woman that kicks butt people through the wall. Who cares? It's fantasy, but I mean, it is more realistic. That's true.
But you have to concede that every person who plays a female character at the table is an exceptional female.
Yes.
And that females outside of the game group within the world are typical women that you would expect.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you put stat limits on them.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would do. I think that's fine.
Right.
Darthic, also on D&D Beyond. While D&D Beyond is being slow about it, they will be altering the digital content also. Oh. T-shirt historian said they already have started. Okay. Well, that's nice. They're going to basically, the stuff you paid for, now you get to have all the crap we want in there, even though you didn't want it.
Right.
That's the reason you bought it. It's all right. I think D&D Beyond is, do they have older D&D stuff or just 5e stuff on Beyond? Do you know?
I don't know. Considering it's on Drive-Thru RPG and they and obviously 75% goes to Wizards, so they are basically selling Wizards product. So at some point you can probably expect even they are going to update those. So if you have stuff over there, download it now.
Yeah. No doubt.
Go to Lulu, make books out of them, and then cut ties at some point, probably.
Yeah, I think I'm completely done with Wizards for pretty much the foreseeable future.
Yeah, but there was last week, in a related note to this woke leftist invasion of our hobby, which, to be honest, I don't know if it was an invasion or more of they spoke up, because the creative space is full of lefty people, which is fine. I don't care. Be left, be progressive. If you make a good game and aren't trying to tell me what to do with my life, I don't really care.
Right.
But that's not where we're at right now.
No.
So there was a Twitter exchange between two people, and
Mhm.
somebody wanted to butt their head in where it didn't belong,
Hmm.
made a video about it, and basically accused one party in the exchange of being alt-right
Oh gosh.
with no evidence provided, I believe.
Right.
And so when somebody throws around that moniker, alt-right,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean anything right now, because it basically means just the same thing as saying Nazi or
Mhm.
fascist. It just means you do say things I don't like. You do or say things I don't like.
Correct.
That's really all it means.
That's all it means.
And so the video also vilified Venger and RPG Pundit, and
Yep.
and ended up, I think, not liking the person who was being attacked in the Twitter exchange either.
Whatever, dude.
And this other YouTuber named Dolly Pop had the temerity to speak to RPG Pundit.
Oh no, how could she?
Yeah,
Doesn't
and
she know that RPG Pundit hates women?
and assorted other personages.
Right.
Sure. So because she spoke to him, now she's persona non grata and is to be ignored and not even talked to. That's how.
I've heard her. She's kind of left leaning, but she's reasonable.
Yeah. So, and her husband
Mhm.
did the same thing, and he's getting kicked off. This is separate from the video. So the video is about all that stuff. He poo-poos all over all these people.
Right.
And now all these folks, I don't know all of them. I don't know if RPG Pundit made his own separate video response, but he doesn't need to, because it was all on Chillstream, because he was on there too.
Right.
And I was on there at the same time he was, though I jumped out before he was done.
Mhm.
Dolly Pop was on there. I don't think Venger did.
Yeah.
And neither did Taylor Lane, who was the person
Right.
other person who was vilified or spoken about in the video at all. So several people have made response videos, and Pundit made a video today.
Thanks,
Okay.
man. Wow. What?
Are you sure that's not the stream, the chill stream you're talking about there? That must be you must be talking about the chill stream, because Pundit's videos are all short.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't do 6 hours. So.
But yeah, so the guy just basically labels everybody bad things, has a bit in there about what it means to be a fascist, and none of it is fascist related.
Yeah.
All just things he doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't make it too far into it, because it was just so ridiculous.
It was painful. I was about 10 minutes in. I watched a little bit more today, so maybe 10 minutes. He was just painful to listen to. Yeah.
And so in the comments to the video, because I looked through them just to see, they're all quite favorable. But apparently he deleted all the ones that were critical.
That seems to be common for a lot of those folks.
Yeah. So it makes it look like everybody's like rah 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 rah. Great video, well done, very thoughtful, whatever.
Wow, dig this. I don't know who the potato is, but he accused Grimm of being alt-right. Grimm?
Yeah.
He is not alt-right.
So the potato is the commonly accepted moniker for the fellow who made this video.
Okay.
John Battle or something like that. I'm going to have a link in the show notes. So I can put a link to it in the chat if people like, but I don't have it to hand right this second.
Dude, we're going to have to find, I think a lot of the community, the people that aren't, go ahead. Yep.
Grimm.
Yep.
Is so far not alt-right.
Yes.
I mean,
isn't he a socialist?
He's fully left. He's not right at all. Right. I mean, I'm not meaning correct. He's not on the right at all.
No, he's not.
So he would probably complain about us being favorable toward the the truckers like we were at the very beginning.
Sure.
And
But Grimm's open to listening to other people's opinions. Though.
he'll listen and he'll talk. He won't be belligerent.
Okay.
Which is, of course, bad because you have to confront and interrogate.
You listen to someone's other opinion. Oh my God.
Yeah, you can't platform them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He doesn't shove it down your throat. Baron G. Rock said, "I agree."
Right.
But this more makes me think. I think if we could, there's a community. I don't want to say community. I hate that word. But gamers that are sick of this crap, we should probably try to find people that can make games. I mean, it'd be nice if we could have some games and maybe even a convention. You've talked about us doing a convention. I don't know if that's feasible anytime soon, but
we would need to raise money.
I am hoping VentureCon.
We can't even raise money for our own podcast. So I don't know if we can do that.
No, I don't think so. And I think VentureCon, this might have potential. I hope he gets his full allotment of people. I mean, I think I said it last week. I'm sure Venger and I don't see any way eye to eye religiously. But dude, I feel a common ground with him and I want to support him and I'm going to go. And I wish everybody would try their best to get there. I would love to see 100 people, which would be his maximum. I would absolutely love it. So yeah, Joe's showing our Streamlab link.
Yeah, it's at the very top of the chat. So you want to go there and click on it. Show some love.
Right on, T-shirt. He said, "Grimm's my friend."
Grimm is very friendly.
That's fine, dude. They can. I mean, for Grimm, even he can believe what he wants as long as he's not shoving it down my throat. And he's reasonable. We can go back and forth. We can agree to disagree. We can sit down and play games together too. I mean, I've played with all sorts of people I didn't agree with politically. Right. I do it at CabinCon every year.
Right. Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Right. So, will it bounce back?
Yeah, will it?
I think there, like Shadzar has said, there is a pendulum swing.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a book burning or purging of a violent nature, or even just shutting them off.
Right.
Nature. Then if it's just we don't. I'm fine with gatekeeping within our smaller subsection of our part of the hobby. I don't consider it a community. It's a hobby. We participate in a hobby. If we have a community, it's the one we have here in Bay City,
right?
With our group of gamers that we play with. Great. That's our community.
Yeah.
We have this YouTube that we run, and the folks that hang out with us, and all that, and that can be considered a community.
Right.
The hobby is made up of several small communities. It's not a community.
Right. It's not just the gaming community.
Right.
So I guess you could say but anyway, I think it'd be nice if we had some options, but it's getting harder and harder. I mean, they're all the cons are looking like they're super buying into the progressive crap. Yeah. I hopefully something can happen. But this OSR has been going on for a long time, Joe, and I don't see
No, the thing is Dean, we are a small niche hobby, and dislodging wizards, instead of it taking competition to do that, but they're making mistakes now. If it starts affecting their bottom line, such that even Wizards isn't fine with continuing to, bail them out,
right?
Which they might be doing, they may not be doing. I don't know. As long as their mistakes aren't costing them that much money in market share, there's not a whole. I don't know that there's a lot to do. You're right. OSR has been around a long time.
Yeah. Shadjar says, so Randy, are you suggesting we back Justin Lanasa and new TSR? No. I'm not.
No, just find good games.
Yeah.
Talk about them, which I think after we've done this, the 13th Age thing may have been not the best idea to do, since we've poo-pooed it almost every episode, and now we're like, I'm not going to play it no more.
Well, I gave it a 6 out of 10. Yours was negative 4 out of 10. So I'm running it this year at CabinCon. I'm not running it at VentureCon. I'm going to go Deadlands with that. So, and I may do something else at VentureCon. I may take what we have of Mud Sword and run that at VentureCon.
Why not?
I might.
Why not?
Yeah. Mud Sword characters and go.
Right. So I think your best bet is finding good games, talking about them, and sharing them with folks.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And if this part of the hobby is a small niche of a niche, so be it. So what? We're having fun. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it, right? You ready to wrap this puppy up?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to support our show, please visit the many places you can find us on the internet. Our website's www.biggusgeekuspodcast.com. You can click on the support tab if you want to give us your money. We do like your money. You can find us at Twitter, Facebook, MeWe, Odyssey, YouTube. And our email is thegeeks@biggusgeekuspodcast.com. If you have any comments about 13th Age, please feel free to drop it. On a side note, I do hope this eventually gets to Aaron the Pedantic and that other gentleman that kind of started this was on Twitter. You had seen them talking about it. And someone commented Biggus Geekus should chat about it. And I'd love to hear from Aaron whether or not he thought we explained why we like 13th Age, even though we are clearly lean toward more OSR. Our style is OSR. We do tend to like some newer mechanics.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Shadzar, you think Hasbro is going to be hurt by you not buying TSR editions? Nope. Not at all. Under no illusions.
Do you think? Hold on, it says, do you think Hasbro is going to be hurt by you not buying TSR?
Yeah. So if we don't buy TSR stuff, I've said many times, I'm not buying it and giving any money to Wizards.
Right.
Hence Hasbro.
Right.
So I'm not buying anything from them. I already have plenty of TSR stuff. I can get it from eBay if I need it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can be angry. It doesn't hurt you. Does it hurt you if we don't buy TSR stuff? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So
okay. I'm confused. Is he thinking by buying TSR editions we're hurting Hasbro?
No. So the first one is I talk about them, but you people are afraid to give WotC any money for 1EB, etc. No, we're not afraid. Like I said, I told him we're not afraid, just unwilling.
Yep.
Different. That's different.
Yeah, it is different. Fear is not part of it.
Maybe he's just speaking off the cuff. You're scared? No.
Nope.
I don't want to give them my money. I don't like them. They don't like me. We can stay in our neutral corners.
But like I said, I can buy them through eBay. If I get them through eBay, is that okay? And a lot of those 1E stuff, that's a collector's thing anyway. I don't want the PDFs. If I want to buy a book, the PDFs are fine, but that's a bonus. For me, it's about the hardback. So if I wanted to get BX, I'd want to get an actual copy, but that's going for outrageous prices. So, yeah. And
Not only will I not hurt them for not buying them, I won't help them for buying them. My individual purchasing, it doesn't affect Wizards in any way.
Not you individually, but if
not me individually. I'm not telling anybody not to buy it. I'm not saying you should not buy it. No, I'm saying I'm not buying it.
Yeah. Please don't think that. I'm not. Yeah, you do what you want. In fact, I say the opposite. What does it say? Nut up? What's he saying? I say
whatever.
Oh, come on, dude. By telling you can buy it if you want to, that's enough. I don't say anything else.
Yeah.
I'm saying screw WotC. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Personally, don't care.
So, no.
Yeah. But anyway, let's scoot out of here, man.
Yeah.
All right. So share this show with your friends. Let us know if there's another way that you listen or watch and we can support it better. So please subscribe, like, share, and rate us wherever you rate stuff. All right. You done, brother?
I'm done.
Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it. This is Randy.
And this is Joe.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.
Good night.